Let's start. Hello to the TUC meeting on 14th of January. So, we have our usual agenda without any working group updates. So reviewing action items from last week, going over the PRs, issues, and talking about any other business. And action items from last week. I created an RFC number for the RFC, which we approved last week. It was about app manifest version 2. And there was an action item about Concourse to make a new working group proposal. So there is already a PR. We will talk about it when we are on our dashboard. So it's also done. Then let's go to the dashboard. A little bit. Let me increase a little bit. Maybe it's too small. Regarding PRs, we have inactive users. So still 1 week to wait here. Yeah, we had some discussions. Last time I notified all the working group leads, but for the Paket working group, the warnings here actually false positive because they have a different GitHub organization. And our inactive user automation is checking only in our GitHub organization. So yeah, we have to see if we extend our automation to multiple working groups, maybe then we can also have the inactive user check.
Be useful for Concourse, just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this was the discussion on this PR. We have to wait another week. And talking about Concourse, yeah, here is the PR you mentioned, Ruben. So basically, as we discussed, the PR proposes a new working group, which will host Concourse, also working group charter. Do you want to mention something additional? Or?
Happy to talk about it more. Hi, I'm Derek. I wrote the PR in. Sorry, Amelia gave me the link to crash the group. Yeah, so I'm happy to talk more, but admittedly, I didn't actually see the conversation and kind of maybe the updates you had discussing this last week. So I don't want to necessarily repeat myself. But any questions, thoughts, concerns, all that kind of stuff, I'm happy to speak to more in color in the space a bit.
Basically, maybe just a general introduction with the intention here, we'll be fine.
Yeah, so the general intention here is to have Concourse be owned, governed, and maintained by a group within the CFF. That will be staffed by, as far as I understand, there's interest from folks already within the CFF and folks that are in Concourse right now that are hoping to be a part of that working group. So the intent is to have representation from many members within the CFF that are interested in Concourse, especially as its relationship to some of the major projects like Cloud Foundry and their usage of the tool, the product, and give it just a better home than I think what it has now in terms of our ability to govern and share that project in its current location. It kind of came up in a very different time within Pivotal, and we think that this will be a better experience for both Concourse users and contributors alike to bring it over here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to comment something?
Yeah, thank you. I just wondered, I'm curious, do we have resources like to support this Concourse within CFF?
Do you mean monetary or?
I mean, like it's ownership, right? Like basically, like it's just to put some, time, like potentially some kind of like people's time, like attention resources, like so.
Resource
That's the
management
biggest
is not
concern.
part of the CFF, right? So what this will get us is better governance, right? So or better, I don't know, whatever. Like basically leveraging the governance automation that we currently have within the CFF, right? And also making it easier for existing members of the CFF to help contribute, right? Because they basically can reuse the existing processes that we have in the CFF. That's the aim here. So because the group of maintainers of Concourse has become so small, right? There's like running an open source project has a bit of overhead. Like, I mean, we have these weekly TOC meetings. That's a bit of overhead, right? And by moving Concourse under the CFF, Concourse can piggyback of us like as the TOC, right? To help also guide this project. And there's a lot of synergy between CFF and Concourse in the fact that everybody or like a lot of the projects within the CFF actually use Concourse for CI purposes, right? So we are all invested in its in the future of Concourse.
And also it's more easier for people to contribute if a project is owned by a foundation. They can rely more on some, let's say, plan for the next near future. Yeah, there are people. Sorry.
I was just going to bring up that, Derek, you put Taylor Silva as a co-tech lead with you. I haven't seen him comment on this PR. Does he know this PR exists yet? Has he
does.
accepted this role? Or are we forcing
yes,
him?
he is. No. He has accepted this role. He's excited about this role.
Okay. Maybe he was an emoji. I didn't check all the emojis.
Yeah, he was in. Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta go deep, right? You gotta check all the reactions everywhere. Yes, he is aware. And proposed. I think he has a couple more folks that he'll likely want to add to this PR as well, from his side. So I know there's a couple more contributors in the waiting in the wings in that regard.
Yeah, also from SAP side, we have colleagues showed interest to also get involved. Yeah. Okay.
Guess if we want to go for a separate GitHub organization, that means a little bit of bookkeeping of several RFCs, and then the org, once this is clarified, the org automation needs to be adapted so that it works. And I think a good starting point would be to list the repositories that we are talking about, and that can already be a challenge because I see the org is not that small. And the cleanup activities that we have done with the Cloud Foundry org as well, it should probably be done before joining it, because when the org automation starts to work on it, then
I actually don't agree. Isn't like most of it like opt-in, and also for Paqueta we have no list of repos, right? So we could just like work gradually through this while we, I don't know, we already create the working group and then like work on the org automation piece by piece. Does that like, because otherwise we would be blocked quite long, right? And we have done it already for most of the org automation that has been rolled out like in with an opt-in like flag or something.
That's okay from implementation point of view, no problem. But I think the RFCs which govern the TOC, for instance, maybe we should have a look here and mention that there are multiple organizations. And for instance, the what is a contributor? This needs to be redefined with multiple orgs. Or we have to assign everybody. So should all contributors of Cloud Foundry become contributors in the or org members in Concourse? Yes, no, maybe, things like that. Because otherwise we ask this every time we want to change the implementation for the org automation. Completely fine. That can be postponed and done step by step. And yeah.
Yeah, this is about the RFCs. Okay, sorry. I need to read more.
Yeah, someone wanted to say something or no?
I totally see like how that benefits Concourse. I just like really concerned about focus and resources of CFF. Like, because even like integration part, like that's something like. But dig in a little bit like deeper. Like, so for instance, like does it also means like that? For instance, environments and say like tests like will eventually become kind of on the balance of CFF for Concourse and. I'd really love to better understand kind of like what are the real implications of all of that for CFF.
That is more of a board discussion, right? Like the implications for the CI budgets.
Yeah, I mean, if we do know that there's other resources like the CI/CD behind the development of Concourse, things like that, that are gonna like that have not been moved over to the CFF, we should talk about what that might cost, but I'm presuming that that isn't massive. And yeah, that's a board level discussion.
Yeah.
Does that mean board approval?
No, the governing board wouldn't need to approve Concourse being donated as a project. That would be the TOC level.
Yeah.
But yes, if there are financial implications to Cloud Foundry, then we should discuss that. I'm assuming that those are minimal. But I don't know, Derek, is there like a
and it's, I wouldn't say so. There's not a rush or an expectation like on the onset. Like I'm not going to be able to speak as an agent of the company in that regard, like right this second, because I haven't planned that particular piece out. But the impetus is not to shed the cost, but we do need to figure out, like as an example, we need to figure out how to transition from where we are now in our corporate accounts, right, to something that contributors and maintainers would all be able to access appropriately, right? So this isn't purely just a financial, like there is a just contribution capability structure of moving those resources over more than anything. The cost of those are not particularly meaningful right now, right? In Concourse's current state and development cycles, it's not particularly expensive. You could see those move up if, you know, the volume of work being done increases.
Right. And I mean, there is, you know, as an aside, there is a conversation happening at the Cloud Foundry governing board level about current expenses, particularly with GCP, which has gotten become a major budget item for the Cloud Foundry Foundation. And we're trying to figure out ways to mitigate that. But yes, if this is gonna, you know, just let me know if this is gonna be a significant increase in, you know, budget, because we'll of course give this new working group you know, access to GCP and AWS and whatever accounts are needed. But if there are significant financial costs there, we should talk about that now. I mean, this isn't going to derail the contribution, but we should know ahead of time.
What do we consider significant nowadays? I don't know. Like sometimes I get told like $100 is like I've spent too much money, and sometimes it's like I don't know. There was a $10,000 bill on a SQL instance.
No, like $10,000 a year isn't a big deal.
Okay.
But you know, more than that, certainly we should talk about it.
Yeah, I gotta look because admittedly I haven't.
Sure.
Sounds like an action item for Derek.
Yeah, it's a conversation we should have about this, and you know, I don't foresee this to be a problem at all, and I'm not at all concerned about other like you know, this isn't. I think Al, you might be somewhat concerned about, you know, just contributors and whatnot. I mean, this shouldn't hinder that in any way. The current contributors from Broadcom would still be contributing, so I don't think this would put any other stress on the CFF or anything like that. If anything, it should help with contributions.
So it looks like right around now, we spend about $2,500 a month.
Okay.
On Concourse. That, probably could be optimized in interesting ways and all this kind of stuff, but that's about the current operating cost of where we are.
Okay. And all of those costs are currently under Broadcom.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So yeah, we'll need to talk about that too, because Broadcom also, I believe, has better deals with GCP than the CFF currently does. So those costs could increase. So we need to talk about that. So yeah, we could set up a call. I don't know, you, me, and David Stevenson, and some other whoever else to discuss that.
Yeah. Sounds good.
So
Okay,
there are some action items, right? So we need to figure out a process for adding additional people with roles, right? So there's people being proposed. I don't know what the process is for adding them.
That's why I didn't do it. I didn't know what the
Yeah.
You
Do
mean
we
to
just
actually
want-
adding them to the repos, not just the adding it to the
no.
RFC?
I would say it's both,
adding
right?
them
Like,
to the
how do I
RFC as a first
how do
step,
I-
right? Because people propose them, like there's this proposal from
Yeah.
SAP with 2 names.
Okay,
then,
but
I
that
don't
was for
know.
reviewers. Like anyone can become a reviewer. I don't know. They've
Sure.
contributed to Concourse before. That to me is a
Okay.
easy thing.
they have operational knowledge about Concourse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, there are action items after that, right? Like, so this is how I understand it, and y'all can check my understanding here, is the RFC is to create the working group, and then assuming the steps after that being accepted would be figuring out all of the automation, all of the CI transition and billing, and like the cost aspects, like the implementation aspects come post acceptance of the RC is the way I've understood it. And someone can check that understanding if there are other things that need to be done before the RFC could be considered like this.
Yeah, before we can accept the RFC, we need a complete list of people that are gonna have roles, right? Even though we have no way of enforcing that or creating those roles, we still need those people in here, right?
Yes.
And then we want those people to accept those roles or something, do a thumbs up or something, right? Like just something like that, right? Like something practical. Do we want TOC people to give it thumbs up for people that are being added in like this initial round? Is that the process? I don't know. Just asking. And then
We have to approve the whole thing. I would assume approving the whole thing would imply approve the contributors.
Yeah.
okay, sure. So Greg can just add everybody that's being mentioned as a person, or Derek, sorry. Derek can just add everybody. Just the default to assign action items to Greg by now. So yeah, just add everybody, and then we and the TSC will approve that, do a final approval of that. And then on the TSC side, we need to make those changes to the RFCs, right? That Stephan mentioned.
Yeah, I added one action item to look into how we can apply the existing roles in our existing roles to multiple orgs. What Stephan meant with contributors and
but that's org automation, right? And the stuff Stephan mentioned was the RFCs that we have about these topics from the past. Assume there's a single
it's not only automation, because like Stephan said, do all contributors in CF became also contributors in the Concourse org.
I mean, we could also argue in if we would add a new area and with 2 repos, we would probably simply add them to the Cloud Foundry org, right? And all these questions would be answered. And we could now say, let's assume, even though it remains a different organization, but we would interpret all the roles as if the 100 repositories of the Concourse organization would be added to Cloud Foundry. That means every contributor of Cloud Foundry is also a contributor of Concourse, which I don't see a problem here. It's just the
There's a
assigning.
cost. There's a cost aspect to that, right? Like there's a licensing
Okay.
cost for the organization. That's why we try to reduce the number of people in the GitHub organization in the past.
Yeah.
Okay, then it might be even cheaper
Yeah.
if we move over the repositories to the Cloud Foundry org. It's another solution. I don't know. I don't know how many of these repos that are currently in the Concourse organizations should be handled. So maybe it's would be good to have a list of the repositories that you would consider as part of the RFC. I don't know. Just,
Yeah, doing a full inventory would be interesting.
Mm.
I haven't done a full inventory in a hot minute.
And then go through the list and say, okay, this one is interesting and this one would not be interesting, and we treat it like the repos and Cloud Foundry incubator, which we say they do not belong anymore to the CFF. They are there. Maybe they are helpful because these were just examples or tests and not needed anymore. But the core repos, these are the ones that we need. Maybe just simply ask, do you insist on keeping all the repositories in the Concourse org, or would it also be acceptable to move them over to Cloud Foundry? I don't know if.
I think the stickiness aspect of that just become transitionally interesting, right? Like I
Oh,
don't,
yeah.
yeah, right. Like the rationale for not moving it has more to do with there's just it becomes labor for folks all around. So I think that's the biggest reason, right? More than anything. And there is value in some of that logical grouping that I think people benefit from, to a degree. But like I can't say that there's we couldn't do it, right? Given all other things being equal or necessary.
There's only 41 repos.
Mhm. Okay. So should we maybe have an action item like to try to find which repositories actually make sense to be contributed, and whether it is an option to move them to the Cloud Foundry org, or they should stay in the current org, and we then
Yeah, I think it's at least an inventory, right? Like, let's talk about the inventory, and then there's a couple of different problems we're working through when we're just generally talking about what is the size of this transition or contribution here, and what's the impact on the processes and tools and just kind of things within the CFF as a result of like that sizing. So I'm concerned about saying like, hey, let's frame it as action item. Hey, could we move 20 repos? And it's like, well, let's say there is 20 repos, like, and what is the impact of like the different options as we solve for some of the things Stephan has been talking through here, which are all interesting, but I haven't wrapped my head around them all in terms of impact, one way or another.
Mhm. Yeah. But
Here's
when
like,
we,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Just wanted to clarify, like, so do we still have like a free plan, like GitHub plan for CFF, or is it changed?
It's not free. It has not been in a while. It's a legacy plan.
Yeah, the Cloud Foundry Foundation, the CF GitHub org is a legacy plan, which is actually it's a lot better than the free plan, and it's better than the next tier too. But I am in talk about with the LF about enterprise things. If we built a new org, I suspect I can get enterprise for that, and talks about what it would look like to get enterprise for the Cloud Foundry plan. in the past that's been, it was going to be prohibitively expensive, but I think through the LF, I can maybe work something out. So that's sort of an action item for me on this. Again, whether it goes into this or another one, you know, I don't have a strong preference there. We can probably get an enterprise plan for a new org, or you know, I think the current levels we're at now are like actually somewhat similar to enterprise, but there's a few things that would probably give us. So I've got a call later this week with LFIT to talk a little bit more about that.
Is there a desire to move Paketo under org automation, right? Because that would be a reason why we want to look into supporting multiple orgs, because, I mean, all their stuff is also
And then there
in a
was
different
two.
GitHub org.
Yeah, you'd have to chat with them. They've always had a decent amount of autonomy within the CFF, right? They have their own TSC, and you know, we've always kind of given them the kind of carve out with more autonomy than the other working groups. So yeah, they have a call tomorrow. Well, no, that's just the working group meeting, but you should reach out to I mean, I can put you in touch with them, but I think you know who they are. The three folks who are on the Paketo TSC.
So they at least created a working group charter with people.
Yeah, but no repos.
Yeah, no repos, because they have, I think, different roles and a little bit different setup compared to ours. But they mentioned that if we support multiple orgs, maybe they will consider to adopt our automation. So there was no clear intention to use it. Anyway, I think yeah, depends on what we think makes sense as a target setup for Concourse. Then we all know how to change our automation. Yeah, this shouldn't depend on our automation, the target setup.
No. That was not my intention.
Yeah. Are the action items as they are currently so okay for you, Derek?
To a degree, right? Yes, I can definitely get a rough estimate of the problems there, like potential impact, like as an area is going to just be describing the types of problems people encounter, right, or the types of work that we can do. I won't be able to like cost that or something like that, right? To be clear, but yes, I can do that. That last one maybe less so. The recommendation, right? Like I won't be able to tell you what the recommendation is because I have less information completeness on the impact to all the CFF things right now. But I can work through that last one with folks. So the first two, yes, I can definitely own. The third one is a conversation that I'll need to have with someone else alongside that.
I think the last one you showed more Concourse perspective, whether it is possible from Concourse side to move to the skill fork.
Well, possible versus recommendation, I guess, are two different things, right? Like, my recommendation would be like, yeah, I'm not going to move something that doesn't need to, like, doesn't have an onus to be moved because computers hate that, right? People hate that. Things get fun. But there's honestly good reasons and times to do those things. So the first two will be informative of how difficult that will be, for sure.
Okay. Okay then. Thanks for that. I don't know about. I think we discussed everything. Is there anything else you want to discuss now, or is it okay with the current action items?
I think it's fine.
Okay. And I'm putting this in progress. On the other dashboards, we don't have any movement. Then let's go to any other business. The first one is coming from me. It's about the file-based service bindings. So we try to understand end-to-end how applications will use the file-based service bindings, which are based on service bindings IO specification. And there is no, the specification doesn't specify in which format the content should be written into the files which are generated. That's why we think that there are two options which make sense, like write the content JSON decoded or JSON encoded. So this is the what we'll. So if you have this binding content coming from the service broker, this will be the first result. So this is the file name, and this is the content. What happens with the corresponding property? Okay, I see I have a mistake here somehow. I didn't regenerate, but this is the string property here. And this is the password, for example. It's a file password with this content and so on. So the difference is here you have the encoded JSON written into the file, which means you have still the quotes around the password. And here you have the plain value without the quotes. And our understanding from the service bindings IO specification is it is not specified, but it somehow implicitly expects that you have the plain value written inside. And so the libraries which exist just read this and offers a string to the applications. This is the first section which describes. So basically the ask here is to decide which option we should use in Cloud Controller to generate the files.
So we even go further and flatten, like if there's a key pass, oh, there's a key password. But then why are you still ending up with a list? That's just a weird example, or?
Yeah, it's a weird example, actually. Interesting would be you have a password and it is secret 123. How would it be written into the file? Is it secret 123? That's, I guess, what most of the people would expect somehow. Or is it encoded JSON? That means quotation marks, secret 123 quotation marks. And then the discussion started.
But the example here wants to show that maybe you have a password like this, and after that, if you try to parse it back to JSON again, it will work because the plain value is JSON in JSON format. So, and you interpret this as a JSON, but originally it was a string. So that means cannot information is lost if we select this approach. So you cannot convert back the values, the content of the file properly to JSON again. But this is what service bindings expects, actually. This is our understanding. We tried also with the Spring Cloud bindings library, here the generated content. And it worked properly with this approach when you have JSON decoded content in the files. But if we go that way, then the information is lost, which content was a JSON object, which was a plain string. And this can generate issues with existing libraries like Java, CFN for Spring Cloud, or at SAP we have also a library, BTP environment variable access. That's why we have proposals how this can be addressed if we want to have a backward compatibility in this file-based approach. The first option is just to generate the wiki app services in this as a file in the root, just below the root folder where the service bindings exist. The service binding specification says that everything which starts with a dot is ignored, so this will be ignored. But the existing library can check on that, and existing libraries for wiki app services can check on that and just work as before. Or there is another approach we have at SAP, which generates a .metadata file for every service binding. And in that file, you have basically the information like here, which property was a text, which was a JSON before translating it. And using that information, you can again translate back the file content.
Why doesn't option 2 consume space within the 1 megabyte limit? Like the con of option 1 is that it will consume space within that limit.
Yeah, it will also consume, but maybe it's neglectable. It's too small. I didn't mention that. But yeah, it will also consume space. Yeah, you are correct. Yeah.
But the metadata doesn't contain the full content, right? It's only the metadata.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I see, I see. So it'll be much smaller amount.
Yeah.
I see.
It's only like I showed here in the example. Maybe you missed that one, Amelia. It's just the property name and the format.
I see, I see.
It's a lot of information. Maybe you can check on that, just read by yourself and make your mind. But this is what we've been discussing the last week when we tried to use existing libraries for wiki app services and then consume the new file-based approach. We came across this situation. Any comments now, or you need more time?
What do you want from the TLC in this case? Do we want to amend the RFC? Do we need to, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because is it like working group internal, or is this like, is it implementation, or is it, I mean, I appreciate the I don't know, the exposure to this information, but it feels like pretty low level. So I don't have a strong opinion.
So most probably the format. So there, yeah. I think at least the backward compatibility needs to amend the RFC. In which format we are writing the content could be also specified in the RFC, but also it's not, I think.
I don't understand the backward compatibility, right? Why? Because this is new functionality.
Yeah.
Right? Writing this stuff out to files. So backward compatible with what? Or is it also changing wiki app services? The environment variable.
Or is the hope that you can treat any both file and environment
Yeah.
variables with the same library
I think
structure.
the hope behind is that you can use existing client libraries like Spring Binding, Spring Cloud Binding is one library, but there are more. And to provide a framework that makes it transparent which way it is, whether it's VCAP services or I think this is the major concern of the metadata. And from the working group, we have a concern to define overly complex APIs because then we have to maintain them in the future. Yeah. But yeah, maybe it's also a good idea to bring this question up into the copy open office hour and ARI working group meeting to discuss it. I think the problem is that client libraries are not part in typically not part in the working groups or in the Cloud Foundry Foundation at all.
We can raise awareness with the people that are maintaining the Spring libraries. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense. Yeah.
I talked to people maintaining libraries at SAP. That's why I came out with the input. But if you can also bring the attention to the attention of people maintaining Spring Cloud libraries, will be great. Yeah. Okay, then depends on how this develops. Then maybe changes to the RFC are required or not. Then I will bother again. So I have a small one about the working group updates. When should we start the next round? Beginning with February, maybe?
Sure. Next week. I don't know. How soon can you get someone?
I'm waiting. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I will wait another week and then I will start. Yeah. CFP for Cloud Foundry Day, North America is open.
Yeah, open today. Ram will be sending out information about that to all the standard channels. We'll also be looking for a program committee to be formed soon. So yeah, you should hear about that in the general Slack at CFDev and other mailing lists. But as of right now, the CFP is open for Cloud Foundry Day North America.
Okay,
Yay.
until now. Until when?
We're talking. It runs until February 23rd. So you get about 5 weeks. But yeah, we'll put out all that info in just a moment.
All the info is on the website, obviously. But I also wanted to emphasize that there's a lot of very interesting topics that are being discussed. And so I think it can make for a lot of great content in the coming edition of Cloud Foundry Day. There's no dearth of interesting things, obviously, but what I've particularly found in the past few weeks and months of listening in on TOC conversations and other places, there's a lot of great interest. So please encourage your people in the team, and just location wise, I think the Bay Area is convenient for a lot of speakers as well. Wasn't the case, I guess, in the past. But yeah, it's an event we're all really looking forward to. And obviously, if there's people who are interested in helping out by reviewing submissions and framing the agenda and things, I'll send out a request for being a part of the program committee, not just for the North America edition, but like for the EU edition as well. But that's a few months away. So I'd really appreciate a more diverse participation, more wide variety of people who are interested in reviewing CFPs, because sometimes we tend to have the same groups of people or very like-minded personas do the review. And so I'd appreciate any diversity in thought and approach that we can make, and not to mention speakers as well. So I encourage everyone to apply. And yeah, I really look forward to a wonderful event.
Yeah. I will do the marketing at SAP at least.
Thank you, Beyhan.
Okay. The rest I think we discussed already. Program committee, as you mentioned, will be created soon. If you need help with that, you can reach out to me from SAP side. And are there any other topics you want to discuss? If not, then we are done for today. We had a lot of interesting discussions. Thanks for that. Take care and see you next time. Bye-bye.